Let me start us off. Okay. Well, let's start with, let me just do a quick comment, connect related to last week. I showed you guys this schedule. So a couple of things last week that I communicated to you brothers. Just want to make sure that keep everyone aware of some of the details. That we started our Zoom classes again. We'll be meeting weekly for the most part from now until the middle of December. So a couple weeks before Christmas, we'll take a break and get back together middle of January and meet weekly there until the end of February, because then in March I have several obligations. Actually January won't be till the 24th because I'm going to be in Pakistan till the 18th. So the plan for the Zoom classes is to, as I put in your notes here, is basically focus will be going over the assignments that are due for module 4. And we're going to we used the book of Haggai in class as sort of an example. So you have that in your syllabus and you can go back. I posted, I think I showed this to you, but not everyone was here last week. So let me go to this just quickly. I posted here on Canvas. Find it. Can you guys all see in your screen there? Okay. All right, this is our group. So here on Canvas, you pull it over here. Do it again. All right. And again, you can go to the main link here for all the documents. All right. And here on Canvas, if it will show up, is again some of the key documents, but I just want to draw your attention to the teacher syllabus, which I put here, okay, that you can download it. And on the teacher syllabus is very similar to your syllabus, except for one main difference, if I can, will be at the end, it's not loading in very quickly here. Let me do this instead. All right, let's do this instead. This will be better. Okay, this is the teacher syllabus. At the end of the syllabus is the example. Oh, is it at the end? Oh, maybe it's, oh, okay. It's actually throughout in your student syllabus. I didn't put in the answers, but for the student one, so for example, for the exegetical idea, you can see that. In your teacher syllabus, I actually put in the answers. So in your student syllabus, this is blank. But in the teachers, you have the answers to it. So I'm just bringing this up because if you go to the Canvas, the tmai.instructure.com, and pull up module 4 and download the teacher syllabus, you'll have all the notes from class, including the example from Haggai. So all the stuff that we went through for Haggai in class, you can have access to that from the teacher syllabus You know, so the background context and the contextual flow, the diagram, the prophecy analysis that we did, textual observations. There's a full example there in the teacher syllabus for every step in the process. So you can take a look at that. What I want to do with you on Zoom is go through, we'll use Obadiah as another example. So we'll have a second example that we'll go through together so that you can see how to do each of the assignments, each of the steps in the process, and we'll be using another book. All right, so that is the plan here, is to, and these are the dates, and again, I'll have to make an adjustment here because I'm not going to be able to do these 2 dates in January. So basically go through the assignments, and then if we have some time, we'll do a few classes on eschatology and look at some end times discussions there. All right. So that's the idea. I don't know. Can you see? I'm in trouble with my computer here. Let's try this again. All right. Can you see that on your screen there, the schedule?
Yes.
Okay. So like I said, these 2 sessions, I may have to bump it down because I just realized I won't be around for those 2 sessions. So we'll take a break from December 13th until I think January 24. All right. So these 2 sessions will be out. Okay. So that gives us enough time to at least to go through all of the assignments, at least for Zechariah, we'll go through the assignments. So my plan is we'll look at Obadiah as an example for that particular step. And then I'll show you the assignment that I've uploaded all the assignments on Canvas. So everything should be there. All the reading assignments are there. All the written assignments are there for module 4. So everything is up on Canvas for you to download and start working ahead on the assignments. And then last week as well, I did send each of you an update of where you stand as far as the assignments that have been turned in. So I think most of you acknowledged that you saw that. So again, I'm sending that not to pressure you or make you feel guilty, but just so that you know what the assignments that I have not yet seen or that are not up on Canvas. So I want to just make sure that, and I'll keep sending you an update maybe every month or so, just to keep you aware. And then that way too, if you have any questions, you feel free to ask. Okay. All right. So any questions before we start working on the example from Obadiah? Anybody have any questions? All right. Then let's get moving. Let's see. Here we go. All right. So today our focus will be on assignment 4.9. So that's the first written assignment. There's 8 reading assignments, if you'll remember. And then the first written assignment is assignment 4.9. And this assignment is focused on read and observe Zechariah. This assignment is focused on the first step in the process, which again is to read and observe. Again, nothing new from what we have looked at for epistles, for narrative, for poetry. It is the first step is to go through, read the whole book, get familiar with the whole book. All right. So this is nothing new. This is the primary step that we do when we start to study a passage from any book is we always say, read through the whole book and make observations of the whole book. All right. And again, remember, how do we do that? How do we get familiar with the book? Read it several times, for one. And then secondly, I encourage you to read it in different translations. I mentioned here the different English translations, and then of course you could add to that the Cebuano version, or if you want to read the Tagalog translation, or if you want to read the translation in Swahili. If you understand Swahili, that's fine too. But
Arabic.
What's that?
Arabic.
Okay, there you go. So, but the idea is, you know, reading in the different translations, maybe some of the differences may cause you to be more attentive in your reading. And that's the goal. And that's why we not only have the step of reading through the, again, the whole book, not just a part, we want to get familiar with the whole book, is also to make observations. Observations encourages that active reading that we talked about in class. We don't want to have passive reading. We don't want to be reading in such a way that we're not thinking about the text or we're getting distracted. I was reading today in my Bible reading, and there was one section I started thinking about something I had to get done. And so I read through a whole paragraph and didn't catch anything from it because I was thinking about something else. So I think that can happen to any of us. So what we're trying to do here is include some other methods in order to help us have active reading. Because to get familiar with something, with a passage or with a book, we have to have active reading. So again, one way to do that is reading different translations, reading several times. But another way, I think a very helpful way, is then to, after you've read through the book several times, read through different translations, then come back and read again, but make observations. That is, write things down, interact with the book. And again, the objective in this step is just to gather information from the book. All right. And there's two parts to this observation. We look for one, specific observations, and then secondly, make general observations. Okay. Again, this is nothing new. This should just be very familiar to you guys. We've done this before, but here's, again, as we're observing the book, as you read through the whole book, then go back and look for first some specific things. Okay. Specific things related to these particular areas, if you remember. Okay, who is the author or the preacher in the book? What is his tone? Who is he preaching to? And then also, who is he writing to? What people are mentioned in the book? What places? Can you identify any themes? Can you identify maybe why the author wrote the book? Do you see a structure? What words are repeated? So these are all of these things. You're not going into great detail. So for example, for the people mentioned in the book, you're not going to, you just want to identify them. Okay, you don't have to go into a lot of the detail yet. You're going to do that when you do the background context. But right now, when you're making observations, you're simply just noting, oh, this person is mentioned and this person is mentioned. And then what places do you see? Oh, I see here Jerusalem. The temple is talked about, or this particular place, Taman or Edom. All right. And again, you won't go into details yet. You'll do that in the next step. In this step, it's just you're looking for specific things because this is what's going to force your mind to active reading, because now you're looking. All right. So you want to answer these questions. Do you notice any structure in the book? That is, it looks like chapters 1 and 2 are focused on this event. And then chapters 3 and 4, he preaches a sermon of judgment. And then chapter 5 is a message of encouragement, you know, something like that. Can you identify a general structure and then look for words that are repeated or synonyms that have a similar idea, okay? So that's the under the step observations, making specific observations. And then secondly, once you've done that, so you've read through the book several times, you've read through the book in other translations, then you've made these specific observations, and then lastly, make general observations. Okay, what does that mean? I've still noticed some of you, when you do this step, you sort of just repeat what's in a verse, or you make you sort of start like I've seen some of you kind of just go through verse by verse and sort of make a commentary, but that's not what we're doing here. I mean, it's fine to do that if you want, but the idea here is just look for things that interest you or puzzle you or just seem to stick out. Just something you notice, right? Like if someone you know, walks in a room and he's wearing a very bright shirt, you know, like a bright pink shirt, or like Bertio's blue room there, right? I mean, you look and you notice that right away, right? It's something interesting. It's something different. It sticks out. So that's the same thing we want to do here as you're reading through the book, just things that stick out to you, or things that seem like, hey, this seems important, or oh, I noticed this statement in another book from the Bible, or why does the author, you know, say this, or, you know, what does this word mean? You know, these kinds of things. All right. Again, there are no rules or requirements for this step. It's just whatever comes to your mind as you're reading through the book. Okay. And I recommend you make at least 5 observations and ask 2 questions for each chapter in a book. If there's more than one chapter, really you should do more than that, but that's at a minimum. I typically will make at least 15 observations from a chapter in a book, because I'll spend at least 10 minutes or more on a chapter just going through and looking for things. Okay, and again, this is what will encourage you to have active reading. All right. We're not interpreting here in this step. We're not trying to draw conclusions. We're not, you know, preparing our sermon at this step. We're simply just paying attention. We're simply just noting things that stick out to us. All right. To keep us from being passive in our reading, but to be active. Okay. Is that making sense? Again, I'm not giving you anything new here, but I know sometimes there's so much that we learn, there's so much that we cover in class that sometimes we might miss things or forget things. So that's why I want to take the opportunity just to sort of review everything, so that to make sure we help you guys to remember or to take note of what's involved in the steps. So this is just the first step in the process, but any questions on that? All right. If not, what I'd like us to do, I had asked you guys to read through Obadiah. Again, it's the shortest book in the Old Testament. One of the shortest in the Bible. It's just 21 verses. So I think it's a nice book for us to practice on. And what I'd like you to do, we're going to read Obadiah together. Then I'll ask you to just take a couple of minutes and make specific observations. And then we'll make some general observations and then just discuss those things. Okay. So I don't know how familiar you are with Obadiah, but it's an interesting little book. And I think it'll be helpful for us in practicing not only the steps of the process, but I think it's got a really important message within the book as well as we go through it. All right. But before we do that, just one more opportunity. Questions or comments from you guys before we get started on Obadiah? All right. Well, let's do it then. Here I've got it. The text will be using the New American Standard, and I'm just going to ask a few of you guys to read. I'll ask James to read verses 1 to 4 here. And then Kazot, if you could read 5 to 8. Then I'll ask Dodong if you could read 9 to 12. Grillo 13 to 16. Noor 17 to 19. And then Michael, we'll give you the last couple verses there, 20 and 21. Okay. All right, let me make it, I'll make it a little bit bigger for you guys. And this should say Obadiah, not Philemon. All right. James, you want to start us off?
Okay, ano pa 14? Obadiah, the vision of Obadiah. Thus says the Lord God concerning Edom. We have heard a report of the Lord, and an envoy has been sent among the nations, saying, Arise, and let us go against her for battle. Behold, I will make you small among the nations. You are greatly despised. The arrogance of your heart has deceived you. You who live in the cliffs of the rock, in the loftiness of your dwelling place, who say in your heart, Who will bring me down on earth? Though you build high like the eagle, though you set your nest among the stars, from there I will bring you down, declares the Lord.
If thieves came to you, if robbers by night, oh, how you will be ruined! Would they not steal only until they had enough? If grape gatherers came to you, would they not leave some gleanings? Oh, how Esau will be ransacked and his hidden treasures searched out. All the men allied with you will send you forth to the border, and the men at peace with you will deceive you and overpower you. They who eat your bread will set an ambush for you. There is no understanding in him. Will I not on that day, declares the Lord, destroy wise men from Edom and understanding from the mountain of Esau?
Verse 9, then your mighty men will be dismayed, O Teman, so that everyone may be cut off from the mountain of Esau by slaughter. Verse 10, because of violence to your brother Jacob, you will be covered with shame, and you will be cut off forever. On the day that you stood aloof, on the day that strangers carried off his wealth, and foreigners entered his gate and cast lots for Jerusalem, you too were as one of them. Do not gloat over your brother's day, the day of his misfortune, and do not rejoice over the sons of Judah in the day of their destructions. Yes, do not boast in the day of their distress.
13. Do not enter the gate of my people in the day of their disaster. Yes, you do not gloat over their calamity in the day of their disaster, and do not loot their wealth in the day of their disaster. Do not stand at the fork of the road to cut down their fugitive, and do not imprison their survivors in the day of their distress. For the day of the Lord draws near on all the people. As you have done, it will be done to you. Your dealings will return on your own head, because just as you drank on my holy mountain, all the nation will drink continually. They will drink and swallow and become as if they had never existed.
17. But on Mount Zion there will be those who escape, and it will be holy. And those of Jacob will possess their possessions. Then the house of Jacob will be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame. But the house of Esau will be as stubble, and they will set them on fire and consume them, so that there will be no survivor of the house of Esau. And the Lord has spoken. And then those of the Negev will possess the mountains of Esau, and those of the the Philistine plain also possess the territory of Ephraim and the territory of Samaria, and Benjamin will possess Gilead.
And the exiles of these hosts of the sons of Israel who are among the Canaanites as far as Zarephath, and the exiles of Jerusalem who are in Sepharad will possess the cities of the Negev. The deliverers will ascend Mount Zion to judge the mountain of Esau, and the kingdom will be the Lord's.
All right. Thanks, guys. So what I'd like you to do now is just take a few minutes, be making specific observations. So just try to go through again and see if you can answer these questions. Again, these are you don't have to go in a lot of detail, but just identify what you can. And I'll even put the text next to it here. Okay. So just take a few minutes to do that, then we'll go over that together. All right. Let me I'll try to put the okay. Go. There. All right. Any questions? All right, then go ahead and do that, and we'll come back together in a couple minutes. Okay. Let's go through this together. And again, this is the steps you're going to be doing for your first assignment for Zechariah, and also later for Revelation. But let's begin. I'll just ask you guys individually just for your response. Kazot, I'll start with you. Who's the author, or really we should say, who is the prophet here?
Obadiah.
Yeah, that's an easy one, right? And we see that where?
Verse 1.
Verse 1. Okay, so remember, we always want to take note of verse 1, Obadiah. And what's the tone here? Kazot, what's that?
A rebuke on the first 14 verses.
Yeah, really, you're right. The first 14 verses. Right? I will make you small. The arrogance of your heart has deceived you. You build high like an eagle. Right? All the way through here. Then your mighty men will be dismayed because of violence. You will be covered with shame. So yeah, none of this is good news, right? The day of the Lord draws near. So we could even go to verse 15, right?
15, 16.
15 and 16 also. Okay. All right. Now, Michael, who's being preached to here?
Israelites. Certain.
Edomites.
Okay, who's being preached to? Is this message for them, against them?
Edomites.
Maybe I should say, who's being preached about? Put it that way.
Concerning Edom.
Yeah, the Edomites, right?
Mm-mm.
Now, I think, right, this is a message of judgment on the Edomites, right? Now, since Obadiah is a prophet of Israel, I think the audience that's being written to is probably the Israelites are being written to. Okay, so this message of judgment is not against them, but they are probably the audience being told of this message against Edom, most likely. But yeah, notice verse 2, Edomites are mentioned. Okay, good. Michael, I'll ask this of you too. Did you notice any people mentioned in the book?
Esau.
Okay, and just give me a verse.
Verse 8.
Yep. Okay, good. Yeah, he's in verse 6
Verse 6, yeah.
and verse 8.
6,
Yep.
verse.
Okay, and other places. Okay, and any other people you notice?
Sons of
Name?
Judah.
Yeah, Judah mentioned. Where's
Jacob.
that? Verse 12.
Verse 12.
Okay, good. Maybe one more that you saw.
Jacob, brother.
Jacob, Joseph,
Jacob.
Esau.
Okay, yeah, Jacob. Where's he
Ephraim.
mentioned?
10, 17, 18.
Okay, good.
Son of Pastor Noor.
All right. All right, Alex, I can hear you talking. How about any other people that you noticed? Who else did you see?
I think I see the son of Pastor Noor. Ephraim.
Yeah, where do you see him?
Wait, 19?
Yes, verse 19.
19.
19, there he is, territory, Ephraim. Who else is mentioned? And these are actually places too, right? Ephraim, the place.
Yeah.
But it's also
Benjamin also.
Sorry?
Verse 9, Timan.
Come on, yes, verse 9. Now again, in this step, we're not putting all the details in yet. When we do step 2, the background, that's when we'll ask ourselves, okay, who is Taman? What do we know about him? But for this step, we're just taking note of the names. So any others, Alex?
Benjamin.
Yes, verse 19,
Also
right?
verse 19.
Benjamin. Any others? About
the
Joseph,
Canaanites.
yeah. Sorry?
Canaanites.
The Canaanites, yeah. Where do you see them? What verse?
20.
Okay. Yeah, when we say people, it can include people groups. Okay, so Canaanites would be a people group. All right, good. That's good. Okay, Dodam. Any places mentioned? Did you see any places mentioned here in the book? Locations, geographical places.
Negev, verse 19.
Okay, good.
Shipela, verse 19.
Yeah, the Shephelah.
Philistine, okay, Shipela.
Yes.
Philistine, verse 19.
Okay.
And then Ephraim, territory of Ephraim.
Yeah, territory. So Ephraim is a name, but also in this case, he's referring to the place, Ephraim,
Okay.
okay?
Okay, and territory of Samaria.
Yep, and then we have Samaria. That's also in verse 19.
19, and
Gilead,
also
Gilead.
in Gilead, verse 19 pa rin.
All right.
Then,
Mount Zion.
Yeah, Mount Zion,
Okay.
right? Where do we see that?
21.
And 17, right? Good. Anywhere else? We mentioned already a couple places, right? Taman, that's a
Jerusalem.
location.
Timan.
Verse 9, right? It says Taman, that's a location. Any others? Ah, there's one.
Where is it?
The cities of the Negev.
Yeah, we got the Negev.
Okay.
Jerusalem, okay, verse 11. Okay, I think that's most
Mount
Judah.
Zion.
Yeah, Zion, we got that. Good. There's a
Sepharad.
couple more in verse 20, I think.
Sepharad.
Yeah, Zarephath.
Okay, Zarephath.
Zarephath.
Siparad.
Yeah, where's that at?
20.
Verse
20.
I'm missing. Oh, there it is. Yeah, Sepharad.
Sepharad.
Okay, good.
Negev.
And then we could say the mountain of Esau. That's a location, right?
Mountain of Esau.
Yes. Okay, good. Now, remember, again, we're not going into detail yet on these locations, but it's important that that when we get to the next step in the background context, we're going to want to understand where are these places. Like some of them we know. Jerusalem, right? We know where that is. Mount Zion. It's either the temple or the Temple Mount. We know where Samaria is. We know Ephraim is the northern tribes of Israel, but there's some places like the Shephelah or Zarephath or Sepharad or Taman. Maybe we're not as familiar with those locations, but in the next step 2, when we do the background context, we're going to want to study those because it could be very important to understand what the prophet is saying. Again, he's mentioning locations that would have been familiar to the people of Israel, but maybe not so much to us because we don't live there at that time and in that place. And so so they would be something we'll have to study when we do the next step. But for this step, all we're doing is just identifying those locations. So this is going to help us for the next assignment, the next step, because we've already identified the places. The next step, we just have to do the study of what do we know about these places, okay? But for this step, this is good. All right, very good. All right, Noor, I'm going to ask you, did you catch any maybe potential themes in the book? Again, we're not interpreting in detail yet, but just sometimes we will notice things, that certain themes or things being emphasized. Did you catch anything as you were going through this?
There is the Lord bringing judgment.
Yes, definitely the theme of judgment, right?
Yeah.
We already
But-
mentioned really verses 2 to 16 is full of judgment statements.
Then at the end, there is kind of promising there, the kingdom will be the Lord's.
Yes. Okay, we see a sort of a statement of restoration to Israel, right? While there's judgment upon Edom, there will be good things happening for Israel. We see in the last few verses. Promise of good to Israel and God's kingdom, something like that. Okay. Anything else sticks out to you, Noor?
Verse 15, they say the Lord this day, the day of the Lord is near. On
Yes,
all
the day of the Lord. Okay. That's a key theme in the prophetic books, right? Especially the minor prophets. So yeah, that's good observation. And notice here, it says the day of the Lord draws near on all the nations. So it's not just Edom here, right? Okay, good. All right. About the next one here. Brilio, do you see any indication as to the purpose of this book, or why the prophet gave this prophecy? What do you think? What seems to be maybe the focus here of the book?
The same, sir. It seems judgment.
Yeah, judgment, particularly on Edom, right?
Yep.
Verse 1, I think verse 10, you will be covered with shame and cut off. So, okay, yeah, definitely the theme of judgment. How about structure, Brilio? Does there seem to be a structure of the book that you could see maybe certain verses focused on one thing and then other verses focused on another? Anything stick out to you? If not, that's okay. I just let's see if you notice anything.
Yes. Help, Pastor Nor.
Anyone else can jump in if you have an idea.
Maybe there are 3 messages in the book.
Okay. What are they? What do you see?
The judgment for Edom, then for the nation, and last will be for the restoration.
All right, something like
Pastor Tim.
yeah.
But for me, the way I say the Lord using Edom as also an example for other nations, for those who will have the same sin of pride and all of this that could happen to them.
Yeah, maybe we could put that on as a theme, judgment for pride. So yeah. And again, at this step, guys, we could be wrong. All right, it's okay. Right now, we're just doing observations. So we're just things that what we think right now, what our opinion is, what we are observing. So don't feel pressure like you have to that we're doing all the interpretation right now. This is really just, this question is intended to force us to just think a little bit. But we may, as we study the book, we may realize, oh, some of this isn't right. And that's okay. At this stage, it's just the beginning. So we're just starting to look at the book. So that's why I say, do you notice any structure? All right. It's not like, I'm saying you have to answer everything correctly right now. That's what the rest of the steps are going to be for. But this step, I just want to ask you questions that make you think a little bit, and it forces you to be more active in your reading because you're looking for more specifics. Okay. But yeah, so something like this, that's good. Good observations for that. All right. How about repeated words? Bertio, we'll let you start on that. You see any repeated words or similar words?
I'll try to look in my Bible, sir.
No problem. And anyone else, if you have any that you see, go ahead and call them out.
Thieves and robbers, similar words.
Yeah, sorry, Dodong, what'd you say?
Fire, flames, stubble, synonyms.
Yeah, fire and flames, is that what you said?
Verse 18, flame.
Okay, verse 18, where else? Oh, and both of them are there. Yeah, I see. Fire, flame, and then we could even say fire again, consume.
Disasters. Verse
Yeah,
13.
did you see that? That was in verse 13.
Calamity.
Distress. Yeah, we could add distress, destruction, right? Distress, misfortune. You guys see that? So that's a whole group of similar words. So destruction, distress, disaster, misfortune. Right? Those are all in verses 12 and 13 and 14, right?
Verse 5 and verse 6, Pastor Tim.
What's there?
Verse 5, thieves, robbers, steal, ransack.
Steal, yeah, ransacked. Okay, good. That's in verses 5 and 6. Great.
Pastor Tim, cut off.
Cut off. Where do we see that?
Verse 9 and verse 10.
Okay, verses 9 and 10. Okay, good.
So that each one may be cut off, and then and you will be cut off forever.
Yes. Good. Good. All right. You guys notice anything else repeated?
Look like repeated, sir. Verse 4. You ascend as high as eagle, then and
Okay,
you
high
set your nest among the stars.
among the stars. That's a high, even lofty, right? Loftiness.
Then pride above verse 3. Pride is similar.
Pride, yeah. So verses 3 and 4. Okay, good. How about just the name Esau? You guys see that repeated?
Yes.
Quite a
Edom.
bit, right? Verses 6, 8. Anywhere else?
Deceive you. Verse 3 and
Okay, let's get
verse 7.
let's do Esau first. We noticed a couple other play, right? 9. Where else?
18.
18, good. 18 again.
21.
9, 18, 21, yes. 19, okay. And then Jacob as well, right?
Yeah.
Right, you see that in 17,
And
18,
verse 10.
10, good. All right, 10, 18, 17, I think it's in verse 20 also. Okay, now, James, you had another word or something? You said verse 3 and 4, what was it?
Deceive you.
Okay,
Verse 3. Verse 3 and verse 7.
and now Yeah, deceive, good. Okay.
Kon Pastor, Edom and Esau.
Yeah, Edom as well. So we could add Edom to that. Edom with Esau, right? Edom's mentioned in verses 1 and 8, I think. Okay, good. Notice one thing that stuck out to me. Notice the day, right? The day,
Yes.
day, the day.
Amen.
See that? Day, day, day. Okay, that's a pretty repeated term. We see it. I had it verses 8 and 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, right? The day of the Lord, as Noor pointed out. All right.
The word gloat, Pastor.
Okay, good. Gloat. Where's that at?
12 and 13.
Okay, 12. Gloat. And then we could say even rejoice and boast,
Rejoice.
right? It's the same.
Rejoice and boast. Yes.
All right, good. Okay. There may be a few others, but this is a good list. All right. Again, we're just getting familiar with the book. So this is just things we look for that can help us get a little bit more familiar with it. Okay. So that's the first observation step, right? To go through and look for these specific things. Okay. And again, that's helping us become more familiar. The second step then is we want to make general observations. And again, these observations are just things that come to your mind, questions you may have, things that stick out to you, things that seem important or things that seem interesting. Maybe just any thoughts that come to your mind is perhaps as you read certain things, like, for example, just noticing, and I would have made a comment about the repetition in the day of their distress, in the day of their disaster, in the day of their disaster, in the day of their disaster, in the day, right? That's just like boom, 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 boom. This repetition. Clearly just this emphasis on a terrible day, really, and with the people of Israel. But any other general observations you guys have as we go through? Maybe I'll ask each one of you to just come up with at least one. Start with you, Noor. Any general observations from the book, or questions or thoughts? You're muted, by the way.
The Lord is calling the attention of the people. So,
Where do we see that?
we can see that in verse 3, the arrogance of your heart. And
Calling
though
the
you-
attention of the Edomites, you mean?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, I'll just put that more specific. Yeah, he's directly addressing them, isn't he? Right? You are despised, your heart.
Yes.
Your heart. Okay, good. All right. Brilio, let me ask you one observation from you. Or question, anything. I mean, I'll give one as you're thinking. Who is Obadiah here? Is he mentioned elsewhere in the Bible? 'Cause there's no information about him here, right? Just says the vision of Obadiah, but there are other Obadiahs in the Bible. So question that came to my mind right away is he one of them? So that would be something I'd want to explore, try to understand. But Brilio, do you have an observation or a question or thought from the book?
In general, sir,
Yeah.
judgment for Edomites, and restoration for Israelites.
Okay, I'll just put the book seems focused on judgment upon Edom.
And Edom.
And what'd you say?
Restoration for Israel, or promises for Israel.
Yeah, okay. All right, we might see that versus okay. James, how about you? Observation.
Yes, in verse 1, arise and let us go against her for battle. What is this her referring to?
Oh, who is the her?
Uh-uh.
Is that what you're
Yeah.
asking? Okay.
Yes,
Okay. How about you, Kazo?
The phrase in verse 3,
Okay. Which one?
the phrase, the arrogance of your heart has deceived you, you who live in the clefts of the rock. What does it mean, the clefts of the rock?
Oh, okay, yeah. What is the meaning of
They
is that referring to
they are mountain people.
okay, that'd be a good question to it seems to be literal there, but that's a good question to ask. All right, Alex, how about you? Any
Maybe would like to answer the question regarding what is that, you who live in the cleft of the rocks. They are mountain people. They live in the mountains.
yeah, so that you could put it, like I said, that would be, that seems to be the idea, and you can put
Yeah.
that. This step, and I think it's good to point out as well that sometimes one of us may have one kind of question that it's not a question for someone else, right? So each of us are going to have different things that may be unclear to us or that we're interested in. So, the observation step is really personal to what, you are interested in or having questions about. So, but how about for you, Alex? Do you have a particular observation or another question or thought?
Yeah. It seems that God is pointing out the things that have been done in the past by their ancestors.
Whose ancestors?
There seemed to be a recalling of the past events like history, because it's being mentioned here regarding Esau and Jacob. Where is that?
Well, just like all of these verses 10, 11, 12, like they all are past tense.
Yeah, verse 10, yes. Verse 10. That's it. Verse 10. Okay, so some sort of recalling history,
Okay,
past events.
okay, good. All
So
right,
that's my observation.
excellent. Michael, did I ask you for one yet? Observation? Are you speaking? I can't hear you. Is your microphone not working? Or?
Hello, Pastor Tim. Can you hear me?
Ah, yep, I can hear you now.
Okay. Based on my observation, Pastor Tim, in the whole book of Obadiah, verse 7 is the only verse that there is a writer's comment, something. There is no discernment in him at the end portion of verse 7.
Okay.
Uh, what's the relevant significance of that here in particular verse?
Okay, good. What is? Because you notice the parentheses, right? So that seems,
Yeah.
is that a thought introduced by the author, or is it part of the statement here?
Yeah.
So, okay, good. Good observation or question. All right, who else is left that hasn't, Dong, did you do one?
Verse 12, Pastor.
Verse 12?
Do not gloat over your brother's day about Jacob and Esau the twins, the day of his misfortune, and do not rejoice over the sons of Judah in the day of their destruction. Yes, do not boast in the day of their distress. It talks about the brother of Jacob, Esau, was happy when the destruction of about what happened to his brother.
Yeah, it's interesting to note, right? He's talking about two nations, right? Edom and Judah, but yet he refers to them at like brother, your brother Jacob in verse 10 or verse 12, your brother's day. Right? So that's an interesting that he refers to Edom and Judah as brothers. Good, yeah. I think that's an interesting thing here. Good. Very
Thank
good.
you.
Anyone else have any I think that's everybody. I know Alan, I don't know if you want to type one, Alan, if your throat's sore, but feel free to do that. I had a question, these events on the day you stood aloof, that strangers carried off. I had a question like, when was that day specifically? As Alex mentioned, it seemed like an event that happened in their history. So to me, I had the question of when, verses 10 and 11, when did this take place? When did this happen? Verse 6, Edom was then, before he's referring to Edom, right? Concerning Edom. And then he speaking judgment against Edom. And then he says, oh, how Esau will be ransacked. So I just noticed like Edom was also called Esau here in this, as Dodong had just mentioned, that stuck out to me as well. Okay. Anything else that sticks out to you guys? Any general observations, things that you find interesting or curious or puzzling, or anything you notice? In the handout, I'll give you, these are a bunch of things observations that I made as I looked at the book. So I'll give you, my observations. But again, this isn't where there's certain answers that you're looking for. This is just anything that strikes you, anything that draws your attention, anything that you have a question about. So the observations are they're very personal to you as you're getting to know the book. Okay. Again, we're not looking to interpret things and to start writing our sermon on these or come to conclusions. We're simply just noticing, simply asking questions. Someone have a comment or question? Okay. If not, then let me just draw your attention to one more thing this morning. And that is, all right, so that's what makes up this particular step. And what I'd like to do now is let me draw your attention to assignment 4.9, okay? Where this assignment, you'll complete step 1 of the exegetical process. It's the exact step we just did for Obadiah, all right? And again, we have this step, another example from Haggai in your notes, in the teacher's notes in the syllabus. All right, so what I did here for this assignment, and this is where you can go, if you go to, all right, to TMAI, whoops, access denied. I gotta leave the review here. Try this again. All right. Hopefully you can see it there. So if I go to assignments, all right, I'm going to go to exegetical assignments. Let me see. This is what you guys can see. I'm going to go to assignment 4.9. The first one there. Start the assignment. And notice here we can download. Okay, this is exactly what I was showing you. So the document's there, and it gives the instructions for the assignment, exactly what we talked about here this morning. And then I give you some space, I give you an example from Obadiah. So the stuff we just covered. So this is what an example of the assignment for the book of Obadiah. And then, so we have the reading part. So just make sure, note how many times you read. And then, here, let me do this. Let me pop over back to this one. Okay. So you're going to note how many times you read the book. For Obadiah, I just put my example. I read it 14 times in different translations. Then I have The specific observations, those are the ones we just did. And this is just my notes. And then the general observations. Okay. And then that's the example. Then I put some space for you to do this for Zechariah. And again, you're going to read through the whole book of Zechariah, right? So it's 14 chapters. It's a little bit longer than Obadiah. So that's why I want you guys to get started on this soon, is because this is gonna take a little more time. So you're gonna read through the whole book, all 14 chapters, a few times, different translations, and then you go back through the book and make the specific observations, author, the tone, audience, the people mentioned, the places mentioned, themes, all of that, structure or outline. And then what I want you to do, that's the specific observations, all right, here, all right, for Zechariah. Then what I want you to do is make general observations, and that's where you're going to go back and each chapter make at least 5 observations and ask 2 questions. Okay, so you'll have 7 for each chapter. So read through chapter 1. Make 5 observations, note anything that sticks out to you, anything that interests you, and then ask 2 questions. All right, and I want you to do that for each chapter. All right, so I put space here for all 14 chapters, okay? So this example is given on Canvas. You can download it. And then you can put in your responses for Zechariah for the assignment, okay? And then when you're done, then upload it just like you've done before, upload it back onto Canvas so I can give you credit for it. And that's it. That's assignment 4.9. So I think the assignment is straightforward as far as what you need to do, but it will take a little time to do it. So I would get to work on it soon. Start reading through the book, read through it several times, and then you can go back and start doing the observations, okay? And all right, we'll talk about that next week. Okay, well, that's what I have for you today. Just wanted to cover that first assignment with you and go over Obadiah. And next week, we'll gather again and look at the next assignment together and practice on Obadiah. It'll be the background context, what we've done before in the past for the other books, but we're going to do it for Zechariah. And to do that, or sorry, for Obadiah. All right, so to do that, I would ask you this week just to read through Obadiah again a couple of times and just try to start thinking about some of the more details, the people mentioned, the places mentioned. When perhaps do you think the book might have been written? Some of those things, we'll discuss that next week. All right. I can tell you're very excited. Brittio looks very excited. He's thinking deeply about this. I cannot wait to read Zechariah and make observations. Okay. Final thoughts or questions, guys, before we finish for today? Okay. Well, I will take that as you guys everything's clear and you're ready to get going on your assignments. Okay.